Hey guys, I'm back. It's been a long time since we've talked, and I appreciate you following up with me and sending me some great info. I've talked to several of you and actually have gotten some really good ideas for content, things that you guys would like to hear. I want to throw out a special thank you to Lolita for giving me a really good lead on giving you some information on condos. Now, we're not going to talk about that today, but we are going to talk about relocation. Right? So now it's summer in North Carolina, and when it's summertime, you drink water, lots and lots and lots and lots of water. It has been exceptionally hot this last couple of weeks, but it's been beautiful, and we've had really great weather. So I wanted to come to you today with a really super interesting trend that we're seeing happen in the Charlotte market. So imagine if I told you that there is a new development going in, a brand new housing development. It's going to be price somewhere between $350 and $450, kind of a nice sweet spot for a lot of people. What would you say if I told you that not one of those houses is going to be sold? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Bonkers. Like, why would a developer build a house and not sell it? Because right now, Charlotte is the second city leading the trend in the entire country. We're number 2 of build to rent. Developers are actually building entire neighborhoods or even phases of neighborhoods that are going to be used for the purpose of renting only. Good, bad, otherwise, there's a lot of pros and cons on this. So we're going to dive right in. So let's talk a little bit about the cons, because I think there's a couple of things that pop into my head right away. I'm sure you've got a couple that pop into your head. And then we're going to talk about the good stuff about this, because there are good sides to this. So the cons for me, I live in a community and we have a couple of rentals in our community. A couple of them are owned by businesses, a couple of them are owned by individuals who rent them out. And I've heard arguments from the homeowners stating that, well, I think if it's a homeowner renting it out, it's not such a big deal. Yes and no. I'll be honest. It depends on the homeowner screening process and how much information they get and how well they monitor the property. Because I have seen renters move in and not take care of the house at all. And it just has weeds that are 10 feet high. Well, not that high, but 10 feet high weeds and, giant bugs crawling out of them and rats the size of my shoe. And I just imagine all these horrible things going on. It looks like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. That's a bad look for the neighbors. It's a bad look for the next door neighbors, but can you imagine if you're driving into a neighborhood to look at a home that you're thinking about buying and you have to drive past Texas Chainsaw Massacre house to get there? Nobody wants to do that. And it does bring down the property values, because people look at that and they're like, ugh, I don't want to buy in this neighborhood because there's too many rentals and it brings the whole neighborhood down. Now, at the same time, I've also seen renters who've taken excellent care of their homes, have done even better than most homeowners do. So just because you are termed a renter does not mean that you're not going to care for the property. It just has that bad connotation right away, because often a lot of people don't. And is that to blame the renter, or do you blame the homeowner in that case, right? Yes, it's the renter's responsibility. Ultimately, though, the homeowner has to make sure that house is in good shape, right? So when my kids were growing up, if we went to church and they misbehaved during church, it was my responsibility as the parent to get them out of there. So it's kind of the same thing in my opinion. But I've also had homeowners that live far away. And I said, look, I live in your neighborhood. If you live far away, give me a call, talk to me. I'm happy to let you know if the house is needing a little bit of a tweak, right? Hey, you might want to call a landscaper in if your tenant's not going to cut the grass or spray for the weeds, trim the bushes, anything like that. Or, hey, your renter leaves his trash cans out for 5 or 6 days after the trash comes. Things like that, bigger things, right? It's not like I have a renter who left a car on jacks in the driveway. And they said, well, I've got to wait for my tires to come in and I can't afford to buy them right now. Great, put them in the garage. That's what the garage is for. and they shifted some things around, and that's what they did. But having that accountability is the hard part. I think sometimes there's a disconnect between owners and renters. So to me, it doesn't really matter if it's an owner or a company or, the man next door that's renting the house out. What matters to me is how aware are they of what's going on with the property? How proactive are they about taking care of things? And, do they get on them and take care of it? Or are they more of like, whatever, it's not a big deal? Because to me, it's a big deal. I have to look at it every day, but it's also hard. We live in our lives, and it's hard to monitor and babysit somebody. And sometimes you have to until you get to know them, or call their previous landlords during the screening process. Make sure that they took care of the lawn, make sure that they can handle, planting flowers or even just trimming things up and keeping things neat, right? That's a big difference. So I would personally be doing a lot more screening and then monitoring. I would rely on my neighbor friends to tell me if something was off, but not everybody does that. And so I think that makes that term of a renter feel less valuable, and that's really wrong. And we'll go into the pros in a minute, but that can have that kind of attitude of, oh, it's a rental, right? So my property values aren't going to be as good because I'm not going to care as much. And so sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. I think you could argue it both ways, but what's another con to this? Well, I had a neighborhood where they built 2 phases of a neighborhood, and a client of mine bought in the second phase, actually at the back of the second phase. And then they started building right behind them. And they didn't know, none of us knew. The company decided to make that a rental phase. And so what they did was they took the houses and they made smaller versions of them, and they rented them out. And my client just happened to get some bad renters behind them, which showed poorly on their house. So they went to show their house and put it up for sale. And I sold this house to him at $420,000. It was a great price, great neighborhood. So he probably could have, in the 2 years that he owned it, probably could have gone for $440,000. That would be my hope. However, it really looked bad because when you walked out his back door, you were looking at the backyard of one of the rentals, and it had toys everywhere, and it had just a mud pit of a backyard. They had dogs that were constantly barking while people were there seeing the home. It was just really bad. So we ended up putting his house on the market at $420,000, hoping to just break even, and we didn't. We ended up getting $398,000 for it. I mean, it took a bite out of what his profit was. And after the client moved in, the buyer did, I asked their agent, I said, what was the deciding factor in coming to the table? And she said, well, had you guys not dropped your price to the $398 point, we would not have purchased. And the reason is the backyard and the way that it appears with the neighbors. And there was nothing we could do to change that. Even we couldn't even put in trees or panels or anything. The HOA wouldn't allow it. So it literally cost my client money when that happened. And so rentals do have an impact on the overall market. Now, let's talk about the pros, because there are some pros to this. And one of the biggest pros that I think of is, first of all, we do need more rentals. There are a lot of people that need to rent, want to rent, choose to rent, whatever the case may be. Yes, I agree that, there's a lot of programs that can help people with down payments and assistance programs and things like that to get you into a home. So if you want to have home ownership, don't give up on it. Just, there are ways to go and get that done. But what I would like to say is, when you are moving to a new area, you're relocating, which so many people relocate to Charlotte. I mean, it's like 132 people a day now coming to Charlotte. So when that happens, you don't always want to buy first thing right out of the gate, right? You might want to spend a little bit more and rent for a year to get to know the area. So you have a short-term loss in paying a higher amount of rent, security deposits, that sort of thing, living in a neighborhood where your neighbors may not take care of their property, or they might, and then figure out where you want to be while you're down here, right? That way you're not like buying a house, moving into a neighborhood and going, oh, I should not have bought here. I can't believe I bought here. I live in like this terrible neighborhood where everybody hates each other, and there's so many, like there's railroad tracks right behind my house and a chicken farm down the street and it stinks, and there's, you know, all this crazy stuff going on that I hate about it. Oh, and don't forget the airplanes fly overhead. There are a lot of reasons why people would prefer to rent first, and I agree with that. I think with the amount of relocation that Charlotte has, we're going to need to have a place for people to have a soft landing, come in, figure out where they want to be, and then purchase a home. Now, when you look at inventory of homes for sale, we did have a 24% increase from last year to this year in the amount of inventory available. But the issue we're running into is that it's still not enough. We still have a lot of buyers that are wanting to get in to new build homes and existing homes. One of the tricks is that new construction often offers you like a discounted rate to purchase with them. So with so many buyers going that direction, while the rates are a little bit higher, it's causing less existing homes or fewer existing homes to actually sell. So yes, there is some inventory increase. It's just not feeling like it's quite enough to get there yet. We do have great homes that are hitting the market that are selling really quickly if they're in a hot area. And then we have houses that are great homes that are sitting in a really solid, good, or even great area, but they're not selling as fast because, I'll tell you why, buyers are being a little bit more particular. So that's another conversation for another day. But I want to hear, what are your thoughts on this build to rent mentality? What happens to the homes, 5 years from now when the investor or whoever's holding it decides to sell that house? Who's going to fix it? Like, what if there are repairs that need done? How are you going to feel knowing that that neighborhood was a rental neighborhood and may have had as many as 5 families living in it in 5 years? So who knows how it was taken care of? Did anybody take care of it? Did nobody take care of it, right? That's a concern for me. So while I find that a big con, I understand why we need to have neighborhoods like this. But we also need not even just relocation people, but if you're in a position where you're not ready to purchase yet, or you don't think you can purchase yet, first of all, give me a call because I might be able to help you work that out. I'm hooked up with one of the top 20 lenders in the state for down payment assistance programs. And she's got multiple programs, and some are very, very good. And she has absolutely no issue telling you if it's a good fit for you or not. So give me a call first because I might be able to help you out there. But if that doesn't work, or we need to put you on a plan where you need a year to get things taken care of, we can help you do that. People do it all the time. That's how they buy houses. So do that. Call first and we'll talk. And if not, then maybe one of these neighborhoods could work for you. They're all over the place. There's a bunch of them popping up right now, and it's a really popular trend. So please comment below. Tell me, what are your thoughts on build to rent? And what do you think it's going to do for the economy overall? And then talk to me a little bit about, is that something you would take advantage of? And in what circumstances? Only relocation? Do you like to rent? Do you not want to have to take care of a home and home maintenance, so you just want to rent and never want to own? I'd like to know what you guys have to say. And we've got a couple of really great videos coming up for you. We're going to talk about condos. We're going to give you a market update. You guys need a market update. You need to know what's going on right now. And I'm going to walk you through the fact that Jeff and I are currently selling our house. We're going to talk about putting the realtor in the seller's seat. So let me know if you have any questions below. Please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. We'll talk soon.